Welcome to KLTV Innovate and Inspire, where we highlight the remarkable journeys of entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers who are reshaping the business landscape and inspiring communities. My name is Edwin Baker, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Alison Ray, a talented dancer, choreographer, and founder of the Alison Ray Dance Company, which was established in 2017. With a rich background in dance training from the Laban Center of Dance and Movement in the 1980s, Alison has made significant contributions to the dance landscape in the UK and France. Her passion for the dance of African diaspora and her commitment to her Christian faith have deeply influenced her work and artistic vision. She is currently touring her thought-provoking performance, The Unknown Soldier, and is dedicated to furthering her impact in the dance community. And so we're excited to learn more about her journey, her inspirations, and the challenges she faces in her artistic endeavors. So welcome to Alison. Great to have you with us today.
Hi, Edwin. Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Can we begin with you just telling us a little bit about you, where you're from, what your background is?
I was born in the UK, in East London, to parents who met in the UK from Barbados. My dad and my mother, they met here, even though they were from the same country in the Caribbean. My sister and I, we spent some time in the Caribbean when we were younger, and that has influenced my work, The Unknown Soldier, which is based on the Black British War veterans. And it's the current work that I'm touring at the moment. We just finished performing at Theatre Peckham, and now we will be performing on the 10th of November at the RAF Museum as part of Remembrance. We'll be performing The Unknown Soldier. I was trained at Trinity Laban Conservatoire of Music and Dance as a dancer. Previously in the 80s, it was called the Laban Center of Dance and Movement. Now it's Trinity Laban Conservatoire of Dance and Music and Dance. And I work professionally in the UK and abroad. I used to live in France and I returned to the UK in 2015. And since then, I've combined the career of being a teacher of dance in the secondary school sector, and the artistic director of my company, Alison Ray's Dance Company.
So both your parents from Barbados?
Yes, both of them are from Barbados, and ironically, they met here in the UK and not in Barbados.
And I'm guessing you're fluent in French then?
Yes, I am bilingual. I spent 15 years in France as a dancer. While I was there, I worked with Georges Monboy, African choreographer from the Ivory Coast, Maurice Béjart, Craig River-Hallwood, who does Strictly Now, Kofi Coco as well from Benin, several other choreographers that I worked with while I was there in France.
Can you share some of the most significant challenges that you've faced while establishing your company, Alison Ray Dance Company, and how did you overcome them?
As you mentioned, I'm a Christian and my faith has developed over time. So I do lend or lean into prayer as well as for my work. One of the things about setting up my company, the company structure, I set up the company structure in 2017, Alison Ray's Dance Company, which is a limited company, limited by shares. Even though I wasn't producing any work at the time, I felt I needed a structure in order for my work to be taken seriously. And as time went on, some of the struggles, I think, is you have to invest in your work. You have to find time, finances, and resources to invest in your work, even though you have a full-time job, because I work full-time as a teacher as well. But one of the things I've learned is my discipline from my youth as a dancer, and I was trained in swimming as well. My swimming instructor, he was from Tobago, and he was a very, very disciplined and visionary trainer. So I was used to training, getting up really early at 3 a.m. in the morning and going to train at 5 and 6, between 5 and 6 a.m. to swim, and then going off to train as a dancer. That discipline has stood me in good stead. That has enabled me to overcome a lot of the struggles. People always often wonder, how do you manage a full-time position and a company? Is that during the early hours of the morning, that's when I'll be writing, responding to emails, or sometimes people who do work with me, sometimes they might get an email at 5 a.m. with a clause, I don't expect you to respond at this time. So my work ethic is the one that has allowed me to overcome a lot of challenges, because if you are going to have your own business, you have to be disciplined. You have to have a certain amount of discipline to be always working on your product, working on your projects. I started the work in 2017, the company, and we have received now funding. I think 3 times we've been funded for the Unknown Soldier over the past 3 years. So 4 years, I didn't receive any funding. It was self-funded from myself and the other director, their works that we put on. Um, you might apply to perform a production in a theater or in a festival, and you'll be funded with that. But that's not an sufficient finance to keep your company growing. So one of the things that has enabled me to overcome challenges is my faith, and also discipline. You really have to be disciplined when you are creating your own business or creating your own work.
I know that your work is very much inspired um, by the African diaspora, even your current work. Can you just elaborate on how this inspiration manifests itself in your work?
Um, I think as a dancer of the African diaspora of Caribbean, or they say Black British or African heritage, the way I work. I've been trained. My training at Laban was contemporary based, but as I moved forward in my career and I encountered other choreographers, my work, choreography and teaching changed. So a lot of the choreographers, Kofi Coco, George Monboy, those are African choreographers. So then my work sort of merged into an Afro contemporary vocabulary, which is really, really important. How you move, how you express yourself. So I would express myself in that way. It's not just linear. It's curving. It's contracting. It's rooted in the ground, moving up into into a higher space or a higher being. Yeah, that's how come my work becomes more, I think you could say, Afrocentric. The Unknown Soldier is the reason why I use a vocabulary of Afro contemporary, because I look at where the soldiers came from. Some came from Africa, some came from the Caribbean, and some came from the UK. So I have used movements, choreography from those spaces to create a narrative, that combines all these different styles. Um, People call them different styles, but actually dance is a myriad of movement. It's not just one form. I think we got to get used to understanding that dance is a myriad of forms. It can come in different shapes, different styles. It's not just one. For me, as a choreographer and as a teacher, it's not just one style. Um, yeah, and also you got to engage your audience. What are you using at the moment to engage your audience? At the moment, this current cast that I have for the Unknown Soldier, some of them are hip hoppers. Their dance style is hip hop. My previous dancers were more contemporary African based. So now the choreography has shifted again according to the artists that I have in the work. Also, it engages a new demographic, a younger audience who might be into hip hop, who might be into Afrobeat, who will find a story like this. They'll be like, oh, I never thought of using this style to tell or recount a story about the past. So that's how I've used the different styles of dance.
That's an interesting point you make there, because I wanted to ask you about how receptive has been the audience to the performance of The Unknown Soldier, and have you had to tailor your work to meet the specific needs of a specific audience?
You can, if you want to, consciously tailor. But I wanted to work. I did want to engage a different demographic, I suppose. But the thing is, as a choreographer, you could decide to tailor your work to meet a certain demographic. But if your marketing and promoting does not reach that demographic, they won't see your work. Marketing and promoting are really, really important to getting your work out there and to access those different target groups. It just so happened with the casting, which was interesting. Some of the artists who approached or who attended the audition were from different, dance styles, Afrobeat, hip hop, and that was interesting for me to work with, different types of artists. I found that interesting and stimulating, because it enabled the work to go on a different journey. How do you express yourself as a serviceman who just came back from World War II? How do you express that through movement? That was one of the challenges for one of the artists. How do you express that? And he performed it really well. It looked amazing, like his interpretation of PTSD, that's what it looked like actually when I saw it on Saturday. So it's interesting for me to work with different artists from different backgrounds, I think.
That's fascinating.
I hope I answered your question.
No, that's really fascinating. Actually, it's really fascinating. I mean, if I was to ask you the question, then who is your audience? Is it everybody, or do you have in mind who you really wanted to reach with this piece of work?
That's a really good question, because they always. I really would like to. I would like to reach a wide demographic audience. That means young people, intergenerational. Yeah, intergenerational audience would be great. But at the moment, like on Saturday when we performed at Theatre Peckham, it was a mixture. It was intergenerational. You had people who were, I presume, 40 plus, and you had youngsters who were 16 who saw the work. And it was really interesting hearing the feedback. One young lady, she was 16. She said, "Mike, this is so." She was amazed at the work and at the stories. She didn't know about these stories, and it's the same for people in their 40s. They were like, "I don't know this." They didn't know these stories, and they loved that it was shown through art. It's just not someone there dictating. You know, Documenting or documentary. It was shown in a different way. It was through art. So that made it refreshing as well. And one of the things I was trying to do is make it engaging, because one part of the piece, The Unknown Soldier, there's a Lindy Hop section. Lindy Hop is a dance style that comes from America during the 40s. And it's very up-tempo scene of the choreography. And what I've done there is the audience are invited to come and dance with us on stage. They didn't expect when you go to see the performance of The Unknown Soldier, you are not aware that you're going to be invited up on the stage, or you might think I'm not going to go, but because the energy of the whole piece, you become comfortable to take that step and perform with the artist on stage. So a lot of people are surprised at that, that you actually become part of the work. Because when the American soldiers came and fought in World War II in the UK and the Caribbean, they did bring their own dance styles with them. And that's one of the dance styles that's explored. And that was developed by the assistant choreographer, Theophilus Alade. So I do work in collaboration with my artists as well. I think that's important. And that's an element people are surprised about. They're quite surprised that they're invited. You can come up and dance with us, So that's a great way of engaging the audience, introducing people to dance, introducing people to that style of dance. It's an element I wanted to to bring into the dance into the choreography, because during COVID, the piece was actually created in 2019. We received funding around 2020, but due to COVID, we weren't able to perform in theaters. So I created an online version. And then from there, one of the thoughts I had is I need to make sure that the audience re-engage with movement and we start to come back together, you know? So that's why that section is in the piece.
You've got to bring it to Huddersfield, man.
Well, tell me, who do I speak to in Huddersfield?
We will talk.
Which theatre?
We'll talk.
And you got to publicize it so we're sold out.
Yeah. Okay. I think my final question for you: how do you, given everything that you do and that you've shared with our audience, right? How do you balance the creative aspects of your work with the logistical challenges of running your dance company, especially when it comes to the fact that you're also touring as well?
How do I balance that? I ensure to have rest. Praying is really, really important. But it's really important to rest as well. And don't penalize yourself when you have to rest. Family is important to me as well, so I spend time with my family as well. Also, one of the things I'm doing at the moment, I'm writing. I've just finished writing a book called The Making of the Unknown Soldier, and now I'm writing another book on dance of the African diaspora, 1980 to 2000, and that has been very rewarding, relaxing, and uplifting. I think sometimes certain works can be quite challenging. They can be perceived as challenging, but actually you find rest through them. And that one actually has been spiritually, that's been guided. I've been guided to do that through prayer. And sometimes I found it challenging, but I've been guided to do that one through prayer. And every time I start writing that book, there's so much information that comes forward that you might have forgotten about, you know? Yeah, so I'm just sharing a nugget with you.
We'll have to get you back on the show and talk about the book in the not too distant future.
Yep.
But,
yes.
Just to bring the interview to its close, my final question for you would be: what are your aspirations for the future of your dance company?
My aspirations for the future for my dance company is we tour the work, The Unknown Soldier, nationally and internationally, where you can see the work at great venue, renowned venues like Sadler's Wells or Théâtre de la Ville in Paris. That the company is fully funded, and I can work on this full time. That's the next step, is to be able to do and develop the work on a full-time basis and have a team of artists, administrators working and driving products forward. Developing the merchandising sector of the company is something that I'm working on at the moment. So that is the book merchandising, which is important. It helps develop and forward the message, keep the message going forward. The main thing about the company, I want to say for everybody, the thing is about it is to empower. I want people to be, what if they can take away anything, is to have that, whatever you have, whatever idea you have, the mustard seed idea, is you need to do it. You need to start it and create it. When I started The Unknown Soldier, as I said in the talk at Theatre Peckham, I used to work 7 days a week to pay one of the days I would pay my dancer out of that money to create the work. And the work was first created with Theophilus Alade, Elimani Bagliera, and Rabimsha. Elimani and Rabimsha, they are musicians, and Theo was a dancer. And it was just an idea that I would lay in my bed and think, I would really like to do this. And to the audience, anybody who's watching or listening, that's the idea. You're lying in your bed sometimes and you're thinking, I want to create this. Create it. Go out and create it. You're going to meet people. There are people that you already know who are going to probably give you a negative. So you don't have to say anything to them, but find the ones who are going to say yes. Now, when you find that person who's going to say yes, just do it with them. I was thinking about that this morning in my kitchen. I said the world would be a better place if we all did our ideas instead of thinking, oh, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that. You're not. I'm just saying, I was thinking that, the Unknown Soldier was started in 2019. This is 2024. We got 6 dates and we're going to be performing at the RAF Museum on the 10th of November. And I have been knocking at the door of the RAF Museum for about 2 years. And I'm only showing it now on the 10th of November. So I'm saying to you, if you have an idea to create and develop anything, you need to get up and do it because we need it. We do need it. The world needs it. So that's what I wanted to share with anyone out there.
Well, Alison, I just want to say a great big thank you for sharing your fascinating journey with us today. Your dedication, your inspiration to dance, and your unique perspective on the African diaspora has enriched your life quite clearly and touched, I believe, the lives of many more. And so as you continue your journey, we look forward to witnessing your future accomplishments and your continued growth of your dance company. And to our audience who have joined us today, thank you for being on this enlightening episode. But stay tuned for more inspiring stories like Alison's on Innovate and Inspire, where we bring voices and experience that shape our community. Thank you for watching, and until next time, bye for now.